Running a travel business can be overwhelming, but imagine if there was a single tool that helped you look professional, stay organized, was easy to use, and affordable. That's just what Travefy does. Travefy gives you the essential tools you need to look like a travel biz pro. Travefy is the most trusted system used by over 30,000 travel brands worldwide. So get started with a system that helps you get back to the joy of planning travel and run your travel business like a pro with Travefy.
Finding the perfect resort for your clients can be frustrating and take hours of research. TA Toolkit solves that problem for you. We have over 700 items your clients request, plus you can search multiple destinations at once. You'll have a list of resorts that match your clients' needs in less than 10 minutes. Sign up today with the promo code WAVEPREP2024 for a 14-day free trial. TA Toolkit, it's about time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sales Day, day 4. We're here, like the
Ooh,
hump of
day
the road.
4.
I am glad that you're sticking here because I feel like the good, juicy stuff is happening a little bit towards the end of the week as we talk about sales, because as a couple of people you've heard this week mentioned, being a travel business owner, having a travel agency definitely means that you are in a sales position. But sales doesn't have to feel slimy or gross or any of that. You're really doing people a service who want to be working with you or eager to be working with you and cannot wait. Like you are lifting like this big burden of travel off their shoulders. So you just have to find the right type of people for that. Just a heads up too, if you want to talk a little bit more, we are going to have study hall session today at 3 p.m. Eastern with Scott's colleague, Stephanie. So Travefy, if you did not know, is a presenting partner of Prep for Wave Week, and they are also co-hosting today's study hall session. So if you want more little juicy tidbits, stick with us in study hall. But without further ado, huge welcome, Scott, to Prep for Wave Week.
Hey, thank you, Rita. So excited to be here. It's always fun, always a pleasure to get to work with you, collaborate with you. And so we were just super excited when you reached out to us to invite us to participate in Prep for Wave Week. So super excited to be here.
Yes, I had mentioned to Stephanie, and if you haven't heard, Stephanie and I did a podcast interview a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I feel like we have like all similar values, making sure that there's quality education within the travel industry, and it was just the perfect fit. So I was like, I have to let them know that they might be interested in working with us for Prep for Wave Week. So I'm super excited that it worked out, and I am super excited about your topic about innovative sales techniques, especially talking about it from a hands-on perspective, your perspective of sales from many years, and then also at Travefy, which I think you're going to do like a little backstory in your presentation.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe we should just pop up slides and get started.
Yeah, no, we can definitely jump in. And yeah, that's a really good segue, especially on the topic of sales. It's such an absolute crucial need amongst travel advisors that are new to the industry or veterans that are wanting to polish things up. And so I think it'll be a lot of fun, give a lot of the attendees for Prep for Wave Week some really great stuff that they can walk away with and start implementing really quickly in their business. Because as you mentioned, Travefy, we've been around, it's unbelievable to say this, almost 11 years. That we first launched the company in 2012. But fast forward to today, we're used by 30,000 different travel businesses worldwide to help run their business, look more professional, run more organized. And we've been able to talk to so many agencies and advisors. We've learned so many things in the process. And the need for sales training, sales effectiveness, sales workflows is so high because to your point of, themes this week during Prep for Wave Week around really turning a hobby to a professionally ran business is super high. That's how you turn this into a career from, a part-time type of side gig. And there are ways to do that. There are pathways to do that. There are frameworks to do that. So that's really what I'm excited about to chat about today. But yeah, with that, I'll turn on the screen share and really excited to jump in. So thank you again, Rita, for having Travefy. We're really excited to be a presenting partner during Prep for Wave Week. You guys are gearing up for a big 2025, and we want to support you in that. And so that's what today's all about, is just to equip you with best practices and ideas and frameworks that can be really beneficial for you. So just to kind of jump into things, my name, as Rita mentioned, my name is Scott Rutz. I'm part of the founding team here at Travefy. And so I shared a little bit about Travefy's business already, but I'm not here to talk about Travefy. I'm here for you guys. I'm here for education and best practices. And, I'm here, as Rita mentioned, to talk about the absolute sexiest topic you're going to hear all day, and that's sales. Juicy, delicious sales. So get ready. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I get passionate about this because this is something that has become a new world to me within my career. And I've grown to really appreciate sales, the art of sales, the science of sales, all of those aspects to it. But before we get into it, I want to introduce you to myself and give you a little bit of background on me so that you know who I am, who this guy is, et cetera. And so a little bit about me, to roll the clock back quite a while ago, I was a professional musician. I played drums, I still do, but I was on the road. We had a full tour bus production. We played at the House of Blues in Chicago. We played in three different continents, played in multiple countries, a lot of fun. In fact, the lead singer from my band just finished in third place on season 25 of The Voice last spring. So really fun. If you watched The Voice last spring, you saw Brian. He's a character. He's the nicest guy you've ever met. But that was a little bit of part of my career. Learned marketing, learned sales, grassroots promotion, things like that. But then fast forward my career, I started out really professionally in marketing and advertising. Got to work on big brands like Union Pacific, ConAgra Foods, Allstate Insurance, et cetera. As well, in my storied advertising career, I also starred in a local rodeo ad in which I was cast as a cowboy practicing his rodeo skills by stuffing himself inside a dryer that's spinning and then jumping out of the dryer. I was cast in that because I was the only person at the ad agency that could fit in a dryer and jump out of the dryer. And so that animation that you see on screen is actually me jumping out of a dryer and gashing the back of my head on the top of the dryer as I jumped out. So a lot of fun, legendary advertising career, but a little bit about me. Now, where I got into really learning the fundamentals of running a small business is I helped manage apartments with my dad. I mowed lawns. I shampooed carpets. I cleaned out clogged toilets. I cleaned out the most unimaginable filth out of bathroom drains and gutters on the roof and all of that fun stuff. I learned the ins and outs of running a business when you can't delegate. You just got to get in there and do it. Rita knows this. She knows how to build a business. You guys know this, building your own business, that sometimes you just have to get in and grind it out and hustle. My dad taught me, as he would say, a lot of the particulars of running a business, the specific big things and small things that you have to pay attention to, doing good work, being responsive, all of those things. I learned a lot of those fundamentals. But most importantly, I learned how to earn it, how to work really hard, how to set aside a goal and work towards it, how to build something from the ground up. And that's how I learned sales. I learned the most fundamental rule of sales is you get out of it what you put into it. You got to hustle, you got to work hard. And that's what I was tasked to do at Travefy, to build a sales structure, to build a sales process, and to build a sales team. And so I think that's a really helpful background so that you know where I'm coming from. Now, as I've built out sales at Travefy, I've created playbooks, I've hired sales teams, I've worked with over 30,000 different travel brands worldwide that now use Travefy in their daily business to help run things smoothly and look really professional. I've learned universal lessons that are not specific to software, but universal to sales in general. But then most importantly, and this is one that I put a huge emphasis on, I've spoken to thousands of travel advisors worldwide and really been able to listen and learn from them what works, what doesn't. Are they a rookie just building out their business? Are they a veteran that they've got business coming out of their ears? They're so busy and they've got a hugely successful business. I've been able to learn from them. So that's a little bit about me. I want you to know because like you, I didn't have sales experience. And so that's been a really fun part of my professional journey is learning that part of the business in there. Now, I want to start here before we jump into the meat of the presentation with some audience participation. And so you can, throw something in the chat in Zoom or raise your hand in Zoom, whatever you want to, but a little bit of participation. So only raise your hand if you can answer yes to both of these questions I'm going to put on screen. Raise your hand or throw something in the chat if prior to entering the travel industry, you had formal sales experience and you also had formal sales training. Before you entered the industry, did you have sales experience and did you have sales training? In my experience, and Rita can watch and stuff in there, but in my experience, anytime I've been in the room with advisors and asked this question, generally speaking, it's only about 10 to 20% that raise their hand. At best, I've ever seen like 30, 40% raise their hand in that. So what that tells me is that everyone in the industry, in the travel industry, in this case, is in sales, yet many of us don't have any experience in sales. So imagine in any other industry, if you went up to your doctor or your mechanic or someone else and said, hey, do you have experience in the job that you do? And they said, no, you'd be like, oh, okay. So you might want to focus on that. That's why sales is so important, is because I find that in the travel industry, it's really common that this is a second or third career for many, that a lot of former teachers, healthcare workers, ex-corporate professionals, and the common thread very frequently is that they have no formal sales experience. And so that's why we also see in the industry many times in terms of general sales success training is not covered from host agencies, consortia, industry level, that it's a little bit misunderstood and people don't know what to do with it. Suppliers want to train you on how to sell their product, and it's more of kind of product knowledge versus sales training in there. And so that's where this is really, really important that we focus on, because whether you're a beginner or you're a veteran and you want to polish out your process, this is a critical topic that can be hugely impactful to your business on how you run, how you communicate, how you operate your business with clients that way. So really, really important topic. Now, what I'm going to break down the session today in is how to build your sales plan and your sales strategy. And so where that's going to boil out to is one, starting to create a sales mindset. Two, how to create your sales strategy. And three, how to start approaching sales scaling. Scaling, I'm not necessarily talking about hiring more people or things like that, but how can you run your business more efficiently or in a different structure that you can scale it and grow it. So like the theme that's kind of going throughout the week of many themes of, moving from a hobbyist to a really professional full-time business. If that's a goal of yours, these are universal best practices or principles that you'll be able to really learn from and are designed to be super actionable. These are not things that are going to take you weeks or months to try to implement. You can take this and start working with it right after the presentation today. So that's how it's designed. Now, for the first part, I want to talk about sales mindset, because with this, I notice a lot of advisors kind of have a misconception of sales when they jump in. And the first point that I want to make is sales is a process, not a person. You can be a great salesperson, but you are not sales in there. And so for many, sales feels icky and it feels kind of other, and they want to hold it at arm's length. And the reason that stigma exists is because we've all interacted with poor quality sales reps and poor quality sales processes, and that gives a bad name to everything. I joked because I was listening to the sales podcast once, and the guest on it used this really crazy gross term for bad salespeople that have commission breath. And it gives you a visceral experience of what it is like to work with a bad sales rep. And I want to point out that is not what I'm talking about. What sales is about is what Rita was alluding to earlier. Of sales is about connecting your customers or your potential customers with products and experiences that add value to their life, their experiences that they're looking for. I tell a lot of people that ask me, why am I in the travel business, is because Travefy, our software, gets to be a small part of creating lifetime travel experiences for people. That's cool. That's incredible. That's really fun. And for you all, you are the salesperson that gets to offer and connect those products and those experiences to your customers. And those experiences, those products, they will remember forever till the day that they die. That's so cool of how you shape people's lives with the products and services that you offer. And so that's what I'm talking about is sales. Sales adds value. Sales adds experience to people's lives in this industry. It doesn't feel icky. It doesn't feel gross. And so we need to focus on, as salespeople, how do we add better value and how do we add greater experiences and better process to support that and create sales success that's successful for us and successful for our clients that way. Now, the other kind of main point or mindset thing that I want to get across is everything you do is sales. Whether it's the weekend or a late night and you get a call from a client and something's gone wrong, or you're dealing with challenging clients in there, or clients with high expectations, or they're a little jittery because they haven't traveled before, or maybe it's a supplier that's being difficult. Everything you do is sales. How you represent yourself, how you handle client needs, all of those things feed your sales pipeline. And so how you conduct yourself and start approaching your day-to-day with this mindset, when you start approaching it in this mindset of everything you do is sales, you will start to see professionalism and polish that come to the surface. And a lot of those fundamentals are what we're talking about today. So everything you do is sales. Approach it that way. Think about that. So now a few tips, especially if you're starting out or you haven't really formalized this in practice, but especially tips for new to the industry types of travel advisors. If you're starting out, a few tips. Firstly, number one, find a mentor. It's an incredible community of travel advisors. That's one of the things that I marvel at, in that it is not a cutthroat, zero-sum game. Advisors love to support and help other advisors because there's so much business out there. If you put your mind to it, you will grow your business and other advisors can grow their business. In fact, helping each other is how we actually raise and elevate the entire industry. Rita knows this. She does incredible, work within the industry to help coach and educate people, give them better practices. And so it's really, really important. So there are Facebook groups out there, just to put it really practically. There are forums and groups within your host agency you can connect with. I'll put a plug in. Our Facebook group has about, as of today, about 14,000 travel advisors and travel professionals. Get in there, get active. If you're going to conferences, ask around, find someone that has 5 or 10 more years of experience and is a little bit further down the road, and just straight up ask them, hey, would you be willing to grab a virtual cup of coffee or a real cup of coffee once a quarter and just tell me about your business? And I want to tell you about mine and see if you have any advice for me in the process. Just ask, and you'd be surprised with the amount of time and expertise people will share with you. But then also set some goals. Make them small, make them achievable in short terms, but really, really concrete, really realizable. So imagine if you're a new advisor just getting in the business, your goal for 2025, for the next wave season in 2025 might be, I want to sell 10 all-inclusives. Very realizable, very small, very achievable. But when you start adding those up of how do I work towards that? Well, I need to sell about one a month because I know I'm probably going to have a month that goes a little dry. I'm going to have another month that I might close 2 or 3 all at once. But build out that path and milestones of how do you get to that? How do you stay on pace to that and start building out that plan? So set some goals. Third, try new things. That's when stuff happens. And so, put yourself out there, market a new type of trip or package, try new marketing. And I'll give you some advice. At Travefy, historically, When we try new things in marketing or sales, that's when we start to see results in activity. Try new things in there and test it out. Don't dump thousands of dollars into it right off the bat. Test it out, try it, but try new things in there. You'll be surprised of what you learn in the process, and you might learn some things you didn't expect to in there. Fourthly, really important, get confident selling. You need to be super confident about talking about your value, talking about the products or the experiences you're selling, and practice and repeat. And I'm a little weird about this, but ask your friend or your spouse to just sit there and listen to you talk about your value, talk about your product. If you charge fees, have them sit there and give you feedback on how you talk about your fee structure and how you present fees so that you are confident in it. When you are presenting that to clients, you should not be thinking about what you're going to say. You are focused on your client because you know exactly what you're going to say. You know exactly how to convey your value and that you're confident in it. So practice and repeat that process. But lastly, keep learning. Don't stop. That's why you're here during Prep for Wave Week. Your hosts have your back. Prep for Wave Week is a great tool and a great event to be a part of, but then also other organizations like ASTA or ACTA, if you're our friendly neighbors from the north, other coaching programs that are out there. Your suppliers have your back, but keep learning, keep educating yourself. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions of partners, hosts, associations, because they will give you lots and lots of great resources if you just ask with that. But then lastly, and most importantly in sales, you got to jump in. You have to jump in and just start going for it. I was chatting with Leslie, who is in operations of one of the mega host agencies out there. And she was telling me that one of the common threads, common denominators of success for the advisors that she works with is that they, the ones that are most successful, they just jump in, they just do it. And it ends up being a great level of success that they achieve because they're willing to just jump in, put themselves out there, and they don't worry about all of the details right at the beginning. They figure that stuff out, but they just jump in and start selling. So a couple really important things. Now, next, really important, while you're doing those really smart things, don't forget the fundamentals of sales. It's really easy as you get deep into the weeds of growing your business, building out sales process and all these different techniques and strategies, you forget about the most basic fundamentals of sales that you've got to do if you want to close sales. And so what I mean by that are things like this: process, have good templates. Don't just blindly fly through things and expect great results if you're reinventing the wheel all the time. You know, have a clear playbook, know your process and document it, be able to teach it to others. Know your process so well you can teach it to others. Be responsive. Time kills sales. Time kills opportunities and deals. If you sit on it too long, the client's going to move on. So be responsive. Be professional. Professionalism is huge. Clarity, quality, and attention to detail. Clients pick up on that if they know that you're paying attention and you're tracking and following along and really following along with them. It's hugely important. Momentum. Keep the deal moving to the next point. Clear, have always clear next steps, and the client should know what to do. If the client is asking you, what's next or what do I do? That's a problem. I don't want to freak you out, but like that is a problem. They should know exactly from your clear communication, where is this going? What is the next step? You should have that clearly laid out. You are leading the client in their journey of booking travel with you. So be really clear and keep that moving within momentum. But then lastly, be personable. Don't be pushy. As I mentioned earlier, sales is a process, not a person. Build relationships and provide value at every step of the way. Don't just turn it into a transactional relationship. Provide value along the way. That's how you create clients for life in there. Lastly, hustle. No replacement. Absolutely no replacement in sales. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And how I would say this is, you can't jump in on Saturday and just power through and do a whole bunch of stuff and reply to client emails and shoot out marketing and then coast the rest of the week. You have to keep hustling and run that marathon and work it every day of the week. In sales, you can't hit it hard one day and then phone it in the next 2 days and expect it to work out for you. You have to keep working at it. So hustle. That's how you build your business with there. Now, that's a little bit on sales mindset. Now I want to shift to sales strategy. And there's some really important fundamentals and best practices that I want to cover within here. And I'll accompany some of these different things with stories from people that I've chatted with along the way. So now, firstly, starting out, keep it simple. I see this time and time again where many advisors get too complicated really early on. Find simple ways to market yourself, simple ways to market your business, simple ways to get started and get selling. Don't overcomplicate it. Get the basic systems you need and get going. So, for example, mini plug. Travefy is a very easy to use CRM system. And I pride us on that because a lot of advisors need very quick ways to get up and running and not overcomplicate the beginnings of their business and not be in training for 3 weeks on how to use systems and things like that. Build sales and build revenue as fast as you can and start learning from that. Really, really critical. I'll give you a tale of 2 stories. I chat with many travel advisors that they get really hung up early on in their business. And I'll give you one example. Is they'll get really hung up on, hey, I want to have a booking engine or booking portal on my website. While that's great in theory, I can tell you in 10 years in the industry and speaking with thousands of advisors, I can count on 1 or 2 fingers the amount of advisors that said a meaningful chunk of their business came from their booking portal on their website. The vast majority of agents, and if you're the exception, I applaud you because you've got a great SEO game going on, but the vast majority of advisors that I chat with, the majority of their business is coming from the client relationships that they are working to build and how they market themselves, and not just passive random people that end up on their website. You've got too much competition out there. You've got Expedia, Priceline, Booking.com, all of the OTAs out there that they're spending millions of dollars to make sure you don't get any of that business. So don't play that game. Now, by all means, if you want to put a booking portal on your website, go for it, but don't let that be the thing that slows you down from starting to build your sales pipeline as an advisor in there. Now, I want to kind of juxtapose that with a different story of how to approach this simply. I was chatting with another advisor who's new to his career, new to the industry, and he was just trying to figure out, how do I start marketing myself? And he had just started using Travefy to build itineraries and build proposals, and he had this really cool, like, ninja judo level trick that he told me about. He would go sell a cruise or Disney package for a customer, and it might have been friends and family, whoever it was, but he was very early on in his business. He didn't have a huge book of business. He was just looking to build it. And he said, so what I started doing, I would just take that trip, that itinerary, I would copy it, remove out all the client information, and then I would reshare that on Facebook and just say, hey, I just booked this trip for this couple or this family. I'm so excited for them. It's really, really, really exciting for them. And funny enough, he said later that day, he starts getting inquiries through Facebook for that same type of trip. He didn't invest any new dollars, any new time in what he was doing. He was taking his work product he already created, he already invested, and republishing it out there in a relevant way that also, if you're a new agent, it's showing social proof and social validation to show that, hey, I'm working with other clients and other customers. I'm really excited about that. You can work with me too, but also shows and demonstrates the product and the expertise that you can offer in there. So keep it really simple. That's a really important part. Don't overcomplicate it early on. Now, also sell in your circles. And here are a few really great stories and great tips out there. You want to sell in the circles or the passion areas that you're already in, because it will be easier for you to do so. If you're heavily involved in your local church or synagogue or religious organization, that's a community or group of people that are interested in common types of experiences or trips that you could work at packaging and selling. Maybe you're part of a Rotary Club or youth sports team or things like that. You can package really interesting things for a youth soccer club that no one else can compete with, because you can offer that type of custom type of package in there. But let me share a few stories. I went to the Astor River Cruise Expo earlier this year, and I did tons of meetings with advisors. It was a lot of fun and really inspiring to meet with that many advisors selling that level of products and stuff. It was really fun. My very last meeting of the entire week was with an awesome travel advisor named Robin. Robin, if you're watching this, hi, I'm borrowing your story in there. But she told me this really fun story that she was working with a friend of hers that is an Elvis impersonator. And I know. I was like, what? But she was selling. She and this guy, this Elvis impersonator, were, I'm not kidding, booking a group block on a cruise ship for 150 to 200 cabins to sell to people that love this Elvis impersonator. They're building this massive piece of group business off of an Elvis impersonator that she was friends with, because that Elvis impersonator had lots of mature, more senior women that loved following his concerts and going to his concerts and stuff. And so they were just working off a natural customer base and a natural circle. Other ideas, other examples. Randy, I chatted with Randy several years ago, met him at a conference. He loves bluegrass music. And so he actually rents out an entire all-inclusive resort for 2 to 4 weeks during the summer and hires a bluegrass band. That bluegrass band lives at this resort for 4 weeks, and they just play music and do their thing. And he sells the entire resort out doing that. He loves bluegrass music. He loves selling travel. He packages those together and creates a bluegrass festival at a Cancun resort and sells 1 week packages and sells out the entire resort for 4 weeks straight. It's crazy. It's awesome. So there are lots of really cool things that you can do with that are a lot of fun, and work within your natural circles that way. Now, a few other things within this that I think are really important. Upsell always offer the upsell at all stages. Build it into your process, whether it's room categories or excursions and activities, cabin types, insurance, private transfers. Always offer upsells. I've personally booked through travel advisors that they very tastefully and artfully always offer their resort or the room category that's a step above the budget that I gave them. Kudos to you if you do that. But then also excursions. Offer the private transfers, offer excursions and things like that, and find great ways to always work those in and provide value in that along the way. But then a few final things within here from sales strategy. The magic is in the follow-up. Build follow-ups into your process. 80% of sales occur after the first contact, or after the fifth follow-up rather. And so it's really, really important that you build those follow-ups. And we see that people are busy. Sometimes it's just not the right time when they first reach out to you, and that things can go cold or go quiet. And that's okay. Just do those follow-ups, build it into your process, and be personable in those follow-ups. But then also, I see a lot of advisors that get worked up when clients go quiet. Use that as an opportunity to learn and build relationship, not say, oh, you went quiet, you're trying to circumvent me. Many times it's just the wrong time for a client, that they were interested, family, life happens, and then they can't move forward at the moment. Build relationship. That's how you're going to create a booking relationship in the future there. So use that. Follow-up fundamentals, a few real quick ones. For higher end trips, if you're selling a high-end trip with a large price tag, never send a proposal without speaking to your client to present it. Really, really important. If you're going to present a $10, $15, $20, $25, $30,000 proposal, you want to be reading that client in the eyes, in the face as you're presenting that, so that they know the level of service, the expertise that you're going to deliver, and you can read them while they're going through that and react to that. All-inclusive trips. Volume, speed, quality. Keep them engaged, keep them excited in there. But those are really important factors within all-inclusive, because you've got a lot of competition out there and you want to grab that business as soon as it comes in. And then lastly, with follow-ups, tend the garden, build human relationships, and stay in touch. Another quick story, a great friend and Mickey Dixon that we've known for a long time. She's based down in Texas. She's an ASTA chapter president down there. She does this really clever thing. She uses Travefy to do it. You can do this with anything, but 1 year from a trip start date, she sets a follow-up reminder. And what she does 1 year later from that trip start date, she just resends the itinerary to the client and says, hey, I was just thinking about you, that trip that you had a year ago. Thanks again for letting me help you with that. Would love to work with you in the future, but just thought you'd have fun going down memory lane looking at your itinerary. And she said it does wonders for just reinitiating conversations in a really relevant way, and lets clients know she's thinking about them that way. So really, really cool. But then lastly, provide value at every step of the way. I mentioned this before, but this is really critical. And this is something that I see is common with very, very veteran, skilled travel advisors. They provide value every step of the way. They have expertise, unbelievable expertise that they can offer no matter what you're asking about. And so always push yourself to provide value, provide expertise, and remind the client why they are working with you. So when you send that quote for Cabo in January or February, remind the clients, hey, this is going to be whale season in Cabo. It's going to be an incredible experience for you. You can see them literally sit on the beach at the resort, and you can see the whales out there just off the coast. Hey, you're going to be in Napa in October. That's harvest season. It's going to be an incredible experience. You get to see the grapes actually being harvested and brought in and see the crews do that. It's a really fun part of the overall experience. Provide that value. Remind them why they're working with you that way. Now, lastly, this section is just around sales scaling. And this is really important of how you can start to build efficiency into your process and build better structure in your process. So firstly, on the subject of process is build a sales process. A lot of early on travel advisors don't really know what's the next step. They're kind of winging it and reinventing the wheel every single time. And so what I mean by this is, it's not a process if you don't document it. You want to literally just sit down at a Word doc, Google Doc, email, notepad, whatever, and just start documenting out, hey, when a lead comes in or an inquiry comes in, someone texts me, someone emails me, someone calls me, what do I do? What's my playbook? How do I create a standard of process? Some people use a very fancy acronym, SOP, not SOB, SOP. I want to enunciate that properly. But build out their process of, here's what I do. I confirm with them and respond to their inquiry and let them know I'm working on it. I start working through these things. I want to send them within 24 hours or one business day. I want to let them know they're going to hear from me with these things, and that you build out that process. You build in your follow-ups, all of that. You have your process and you know exactly what to do. You can still change it and adapt it, but you have your process to ensure that. Now, here's some questions to think through when you're building out your sales process. Firstly, what steps ensure great client experience? So think about those things that you need to build into your process to ensure clients feel well taken care of and know exactly what's going on. Also think about, what are the most manual tasks you have? And can you build those into your process to make sure they don't slip through the cracks? Or even better, can you use a CRM or system to automate those things in the process to cut down on the manual tasks? Are there gaps in your process? For example, do you have certain parts of your process that continue to become headaches? For example, maybe clients continue to go quiet at a certain part of your process. That to me is what I call a yellow flag. You need to zoom in on that and figure out what's going on with my process so that I can improve that process to make sure that doesn't happen. So those gaps can be yellow flags. What are parts of your process that you want to professionalize? We hear from a lot of advisors like, hey, I'm really good on these 3 or 4 first parts of the process, but then when it comes to like delivering an itinerary to a client or having this part of the process, that's where I want to professionalize it. I want to look more professional. So think about those things that you want to operate more professionally. But then lastly, requirements. Does your host agency have certain requirements in the process for travel insurance or for seller of travel numbers and licenses? Are you in Canada and there are TICO requirements that you have to abide by? Make sure that those requirements are built into your process so you can follow that every single time. Now, there are lots of best practices that you can also watch for in there, CRM practices and things like that. Regardless of what system or CRM that you use, there are universal things that you have to do that I've learned personally. I coach into our sales team and I coach into travel advisors. Firstly, everything you do should be tracked in your CRM. Notes, phone calls, conversations, things like that. I give the example of from the day that I started the sales team at Travify, and I was a sales team of 1, I can go back and look at agents or advisors that I spoke with and look at my notes from conversations that I had 6, 7 years ago. So you need to track those things because you would be surprised when you get in a jam how valuable that will be to you. Secondly, don't overcomplicate it. A lot of advisors that I chat with are trying to set up too complicated things. Now, you can get more complicated as you get in, but don't overcomplicate it early on. That's where it gets in your way. But then lastly, commit to it. A CRM does not work unless you commit to the system and use it. If you're dabbling in your CRM and then keeping some notes over here on a notepad, keeping some notes in your email, keeping some things over there, that's where it's not going to be effective. You got to commit to it. If you're Beyonce, you put a ring on it, and you got to work it. You got to use your CRM that way. Now, a few final things. Learn fast. Consistency is key. And with that, a sales process is built in volume. You don't build a sales process by doing it once or doing it twice. You build a sales process by doing it 5 or 10 times and then thinking about what worked and what didn't, and then revising and iterating on that, making some changes and being really smart about that and rolling those changes out fast. So you got to learn fast. Consistency is key. So you're going to hear themes throughout this entire presentation. You're hearing themes of, wow, I got to jump in and I just got to start doing it. And I'm going to kind of, be in an uncomfortable spot in sales, but that's okay because I'm going to learn in the process and be more effective because of that. So those are some really, really important best practices, fundamentals, and things like that we've covered in terms of how to build out that overall sales plan, how to create a sales mindset, how to create a sales strategy, and create sales scaling within your business. Now, the final thing I'm going to leave you is going back to the beginning, is everything you do is sales. Absolute everything. Approach your professional career in the travel industry as such, because you will be surprised with how that starts to change how clients talk to you, how you start to pick up repeat business, how do you start to impress clients because you're going the extra mile and adding an extra layer of professionalism and polish. You would be surprised how this goes, but start with that mindset every day. Everything you do is sales, and you're earning their business every single time that you work with them. So that's my presentation. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. My email is very complicated, scott@travefy.com. Scott@travefy.com. If you reach out to me, I'm happy to send you the slides as well as a bonus worksheet of how to build out your sales workflow in there. Want to provide that value, and it's really easy. You can document that out, and you can take a lot of the fundamentals and best practices that we went through during the session today and factor that into the worksheet that we go through. Last thing is, as Rita mentioned, we have a special promo for any attendees of Prep for Wave Week. And so you can use that code down there at the bottom, WAVE20 annual. And if you're interested in using that code, you can also scan that QR code to connect one-on-one with our team. They can answer any questions or walk through anything that has to do with Travefy, so that you can learn more about the platform and use that discount code. They can help you get set up with that. But with that, Rita, thank you so much for this opportunity. It was a ton of fun to go through this. As you can tell, I'm passionate about sales. I'm passionate about getting good sales practices in the hands of travel advisors. And so this was really cool and a really special privilege to be a part of Prep for Wave Week.
Yeah, thank you so much. I took a bunch of little notes because I'm like, oh, there were so many. I like to call them mic drop moments. I might have to put that on a t-shirt or something. Eventually, mic drop moments. I would love to know from your history back as a musician, because I feel like even way back then, you have to sell yourself in order to get gigs in bars, lounges, or wherever. So what were kind of some of the, I guess, little sales techniques or sales tricks from way back when that kind of worked for you in that world?
Yeah. That's what's funny is there's so many things, so many best practices and fundamentals that we talked about today that are universal. Even if you're booking gigs, for concerts and stuff, sell in your circles. You'll start to build out a network of clients that then you can market and sell to. You got to tend the garden. You can't just call them up every time that you want to do something. But you got to start to build out and think strategically of building out, I'm going to build out this layer of my business and then connect with this next layer and this next layer. So it's a slightly different game, different market, different playbook, but a lot of the same kind of strategies apply to that in there. So a lot of really good lessons that I've learned in the process. And I wish what I knew about sales now, I could take back and tell my younger self, here are 5 things, do these 5 things, you'll be way more successful.
Right. I know it's always in hindsight. You had also mentioned all the different cool things that people can do, and part of the experience of travel are these being able to put itineraries together. Have you come across any really cool or unique experiences recently when you've been perusing anybody's Travefy accounts? I was just curious if there's any like out of the box
Mhm.
experiences.
Oh, tons. Now, quick disclaimer, because I don't want anyone to freak out. We don't just browse people's accounts randomly. So that's only for security purposes, only
Yeah.
if you reach out to us and need support. Full disclaimer there. But yeah, tons of really unique experiences, so many that it gets honestly hard to like keep up with them.
Mhm.
We saw a trend a few years ago of the surprise trips where literally a client books a trip. They tell them things that they like, that they don't like, but then they don't actually know where they're going until they get a package and they literally are told, here's what you need to pack. But then they get to the airport, they open up the package and they're like, I'm going to Iceland. What? Like, that's amazing. Like really, really cool experiences. Lots of really fun experiences from like wellness and adventure. But then some of the most interesting ones, in my opinion, are ones where, like what we were talking about earlier, of selling in your circles. So think about a youth sports team that
Mhm.
then sells a special trip to their team to go see a professional football or soccer team, whichever
Yeah.
term you like to use, at a stadium in another city or something. And it's a fun family and team trip, but it's a fun experience they'll remember for the rest of their lives that no
Mhm.
one else can compete with because they're the only one that can offer it. And so there's tons and tons of examples like that across the board. You take that same template and apply it into what is the circle that you're in and what are the types of experiences people are interested in.
That is so like coinky dink that you mentioned that because I have a friend with a son who played baseball in high school, and like that was his big life goal to
Mhm.
at one point hit up all the major league baseball stadiums, baseball fields.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard of a travel advisor doing like planning trips like
Mhm.
that and like putting itineraries together and just being able to sell the itineraries that they put together for things like that. So it's just an interesting niche because you
Mhm.
never know where things are going to come from. Like you had mentioned the Elvis impersonator, and that was huge. Tomorrow on expansion day, we're actually having the ladies that put together the Taylor Swift themed cruise because it's not
Oh,
endorsed by
cool.
Taylor.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's going to be a really great one if you're trying to put a niche event,
Mhm.
sort of travel event together. Like that's going to
Yeah.
be a great one to listen to. I love that you mentioned following up, part of the sales process, and that it
Mhm.
takes a couple touch points. Because I think a theme that I have personally learned this year is that nobody is going to care about your business as much as you are. And that sounds, I feel, a little bit harsher than what it really is. But I think that's where the fortune is in the follow up, in
Yeah.
that you are always going to have your business top of mind. Nobody else is really going to have your business as top of mind as you are. So you have to like keep pitching it
Yeah.
per se, and like putting content out there to be like, I'm still here. Hello.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, no, like a lot of people, the main reasons follow-ups don't happen are either apathy from the salesperson or
Mhm.
that they're afraid of annoying people. And let's forget, like, if you're doing sales properly, you're motivated. So apathy is not a thing. You're going to
Mhm.
build this playbook and you're going to do it. So then that only leaves the second reason of you're afraid to follow up. You're afraid to annoy people.
Mhm.
The only reason people don't respond or don't respond to follow-ups or don't like follow-ups is if they don't provide value.
Mhm.
All of us don't mind marketing or
Right.
sales or follow-ups if it provides value to us,
Right.
informs us in something, or gets us interested in something new, gets us to engage. And so that's what my challenge would be, is within thinking about follow-ups of how you build it into your processes. How do you ensure that you're providing value every step of the way in that? Because that's what's going to make it magical.
Mhm. Yep. I feel you said processes, and I'm like, that's another common theme
Yeah.
of Prep for Wave Week is processes. And I'm like, it can be as simple like waking up and your morning routine is a process. So if you're kind of
Mhm.
overthinking it, because that was another thing that you mentioned a lot of, was over wanting to overcomplicate your business. And I wrote it down. I'm like, sales equals clarity equals simple.
Mhm.
And I think we overlook it because there's so many things that maybe other people might be doing, and you're hearing that you should be doing this and doing that.
Yeah.
But I think I had a podcast episode a couple weeks ago. I'm like, people back in the 1700s, like if we're thinking about Roman days, how people sold things was like, I have this apple and I just picked it from the orchard. Like you just
Yeah.
talked to people and sold it that way.
Yeah. No, there are those things, those themes that transcend time of how you communicate, how you present, knowing your product, knowing your service. So there are absolutely universal themes that transcend time that just make you a better salesperson,
Yep.
in the process.
Yeah. I was like, we could go through all of my little notes here. I loved now I was like, oh, we can't not talk about this one about getting confident and using, I thought like this was the best tip. If you take any of the tips away, using a friend or a spouse to practice with and repeat, especially like if public speaking and having conversations, if you're a little bit more introverted, if that's a little bit like daunting to you, I'm like, what better than be like, can you just pretend you want to go on a trip to Bali so that I can practice how I'm selling to other people?
Absolutely. Just ask questions, have them ask questions, respond to you. Going through it even just 2 or 3 times does wonders. This is something that I admit to my entire team here, whether they're on support, sales, marketing, education, anyone that's client facing. I'm annoying about this. I actually have them record themselves presenting and watch it back, because you would be surprised. It's painful the first time or two that you do it, but that's how you get better at presenting and communicating. You pick up on the little nuances and ticks and things that you didn't even know that you do. And you're like, oh my gosh, I do that. I do that all the time. That's terrible. I'm stopping that right now. You will pick up on those things, but it makes you better. Plus, if you have really thought through what you want to communicate, it helps you memorize what you say, so that when you're in front of a client, you're not thinking about, oh, what am I supposed to say about the travel insurance? You already know it.
Right.
You can just focus on them, have an engaging, thoughtful conversation, and confidently communicate your services, your value along the way.
Yep. 100%. Well, this was a jam-packed presentation. So huge thank you, Scott, again for joining us. Huge thanks to Travify. I want to let me give a little big shout out to all of our partners who helped make Prep for Wave Week happen this year. TA Toolkit and Travify are amazing presenting partners. And then our premier partners are Inflow Design Co., Lucia, and Find Travel. Any other parting words before we jump off, Scott?
No, just Rita, thank you so much for producing Prep for Wave Week. We're super excited to be a part of it. And thank you, everyone. I hope you can join Stephanie and Rita later in the day. But thank you so much for having us.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. And thanks, Travel Advisors. We will see you on the next presentation. Bye.